Welcome, students, to Monk Meditation, the show about monks in the world of Warcraft.
Celestalon has set off a firestorm about Mistweavers. It's Chaithi and our special guest Zuggy versus the world, coming up on Monk Meditation, episode 30.
Here's your host, Chaithi.
Hello, one and all. I'm Chaithi from Airy Peak, US, currently a Mistweaver monk. Just kidding, I'm Windwalker right now, but will be going Mistweaver. For with the Rolling Thunder team, we have a huge show coming up, including a special guest. But first, let's get to our regular hosts who have had a bit of a vacation after Lady Monks took over the show last time. There's a trend tonight. Most of these guys have at one time been a Mistweaver, most of which now play Brewmaster from time to time. Let's go first to Daikatsu. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, and I am really excited to start talking about our main topic today because there's a lot to go over.
Yes, there is. Next up, now Yuki. How you doing, man?
I'm good. A little sick, but I'm here, live, and it's great to be back. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it seems like we take a one episode break, and it seems like the world just goes by without us. Next up, LeBlue. How you doing, man?
Good. Just woke up from a nap, and I'm ready to let the rage, depression, and denial cycles begin.
Speaking of naps, someone who I hope took one, Zuggy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a bit late, so I'm a tiny bit tired still. Other than that, I'm looking forward to tomorrow's testing, especially the waffle boss. That's going to be great.
That one should be fun. All right, well, let's check in with how WoW is now in
Storm, Earth,
and fire!
All right, Daikatsu, Rolling Thunder. We've been rolling through. How's it been going?
You know, a few weeks ago, we had a raid night where I think we cleared through everything in about 3.5 hours on normal. And I even solo tanked Garage, which was probably the scariest thing I've done all expansion. But we we two-shot it, didn't we? We
two-shot it, yeah.
We two-shot it, and that was fantastic. Basically, we've just been carrying friends, family members, people from the guild through normal Garage, trying to get them their mounts before the mounts go away with the feat of strength in 6.0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed doing it, and it's been nice to pull in a couple of people, friends of the guild. I got to run a warlock for Lady Chai. Yeah, I'll stick with my monk, thanks.
That's a good move considering what's happening to warlocks.
Exactly. All right, now Yuki, how's WoW been for you, sir?
It's been going well, actually. After Blizzard decided to reset our lockouts, we had to work our way back up to heroic Malkarok, so we're working on him now. Almost had him down, actually, but we're still working on some of the mechanics. Numbers are fine. Beta testing a lot, which has been great this last build. I've been leveling this build, and I've been doing it as Fistweaver, and never go past down 90% mana, and I pull packs of like 20 at a time, and I kill them all.
Rushing Jade Win, all
incredible.
The things.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm doing that and testing out the garrisons. And I have huge news, but I'm keeping it hush-hush until the shout-outs later on.
Ooh, interesting. That's called a teaser, friends. All right, LeBlue, how's it been going in WoW for you?
My WoW time has basically been Tuesday night, get on for raid, do clear most of it because we can't one night clear because then we wouldn't have the dream anymore. And then Wednesday night we finish up, and then I play copious amounts of Diablo because that's my Blizzard gaming
Did
for the
someone
moment.
say Thunder Fury?
Thunder Fury? Nope, because I'm a Demon Hunter, the one true class.
No.
So haven't been playing too much WoW outside of raid until I've been doing a bit of beta. Got to do I got to do train boss. Yay!
If the train boss is anywhere near as fun as a train boss from the dungeon, I'll be happy.
I did it as Mistweaver, and it was really fun watching our two warrior tanks get nearly two-shot. because they did the stamina changes for the tank squish, but nothing else. It was awesome.
Nice.
That must have been exciting. All right, and Zuggy, how's WoW been going for you, sir?
It's kind of boring at the moment, to be honest. The only thing I've been doing is try to push Mistweaver DPS ranks. I'm missing Garrus, then I'll probably be number 1. Yay!
Yay!
Other than that, I've been doing some of the testing. I was really excited about the changes they made to Uplift, actually making us viable in spread AoE healing. I did the train boss as well. It was fun having 2 bosses at the same time, and then no trains for a few pulls, and then they fixed it, and then it was just chaos, to be honest. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Chaotic fights are fun, as long as they're not as chaotic as Claxy. I think I'll be all right.
It's really difficult to get used to not being able to run an uplift at the same time, especially in a fight
You're
like that.
You're telling me, Chibrew, uplift. It's not Oh, I gotta stop and cast for a second.
Yeah, it's gonna take some getting used to for sure. All right, well, I think it's time to get caught up in the crazy whirlwind of WoW news in
Dizzying haze.
So, virtual ticket for BlizzCon is now available, $39.99 US dollars in the BattleNet store. You can get that and get access to all the digital goodies as well as all of the streamed content. You'll basically have access to everything except for being able to actually touch a developer. Though that's the special ticket. Nope. Okay.
Nope.
All right.
For some people, that actually might be a good thing, because I'm pretty sure that Celestalon has a lot of fans right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. And for the final time before Warlords comes out, if you're still working on your legendary cloak on an alt or on your main, you have the Gaze of the Black Prince active until September 16th. So this is your final chance to get that buff. So.
Let's point out, you don't have to test the Valor. Bam.
Yep.
I'm fully expecting on the 16th for us to get the Valor buff for 2 weeks for the final time, at which point we'll pretty much have an idea when 6.0 is.
I took advantage of the gaze on my druid, finished up the secrets portion, and then realized, oh, okay, I have to get exalted. Oh, yeah, then I have to do the Thunderforge. Oh, yeah, then I have to unlock the Thunderforge even though I can walk right up to it. Oh, then I have to unlock Nalak because even though I can walk up to him and kill him. So, hopefully next week. Hopefully.
Is this druid by chance a resto druid?
Maybe.
Is that what this is?
Yes.
Is that a resto druid? Just checking.
Yeah. It's my guilty pleasure on the side. All right. Other than that, WoW news has been pretty skimpy. We have the release date that came out before the last show, and so what are you guys' thoughts on that? Since we didn't get to talk about it, November 13th on a Thursday. Any thoughts on that?
What happened?
We get to kill Mythic Garrosh one more time. Yay!
I predict that there's a lot of geeks who are going to take a very nice long weekend.
Yes.
Not me, sadly.
I won't be able to because I'll have taken a nice long weekend the weekend before. So, as is most geeks, it's like they don't know if they'll be able to get off 2 weeks from work.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave everyone to log on Thursday and kill everything. I'm going to log on Friday and start leveling then, because just go ahead, Locust. Take care of all the quest stuff.
That's cute that you think people will be able to level on Thursday.
Well, no, they'll be ahead of me. So I don't care if they're only like 5 or 6, 3 or 4 levels ahead of me. They're going to be ahead of me. It's not going to be that awful mess it was for Alliance at the beginning of at the beginning of MOP, where it's like, okay, there's 40,000 people in a plane and there's 2 targets. Good luck, fellas. You need 10.
Don't worry. Now everybody does it. Horde and Alliance.
The people. Everyone who gets into the where you pop up your garrison, the people who logged in first are going to be still trying to click that flag.
Exactly.
Saturday.
Let them go through all that mess. Let everyone just kind of gather around that flag. I figure after about 24 hours, most people would have hit the flag and move on, and I can just walk right in.
Just doing dungeons till Gorgor under Talador. F it. Yeah. Not even mucking with it on Storm Rage. Storm Rage is going to be atrocious. Largest PvE server Alliance side.
You're still going to have to get your garrison going before you can really get anywhere, though.
Whatever. I just click the flag.
You don't have to.
Click the flag and never do anything again. click the flag, never do anything
Yeah.
with Shadow Moon
That's
Valley
the problem
again.
is clicking that flag.
We'll see how that
Yeah.
goes.
Okay. It's time to keep your spirits up while the world changes around you in...
The sky is falling! The sky is falling!
Uplift. Don't worry, I'm sure it happens to other monks too.
All right, since the last show, the Pandaren racial Epicurean had been nerfed to 75%, and then the internet cried, and because Pandaren Master Race. Back up to 100%. So, yeah, don't bother going any other race, guys.
It honestly puts it right in line with all of the other
Right.
1% and 2%. It's nice. It's
The best thing about the Epicurean, though, is that you get to choose your stat, whereas all the rest of them you don't.
kinda.
It's
you
all
know, if you're
secondary
eating,
stat foods, so...
yeah, but you're not really going to choose it. There's going to be someone who says you want this food.
I'm choosing Spirit as Brewmaster.
Yeah,
Picking
see,
YOLO.
spirit, OP.
Yep, OP spirit right there. All right, see, now Yuki, you had something about Dwarf? Really?
Yes, I'm still thinking
Yes.
of going male dwarf in WAD and screw Draenei's.
Female Draenei or
weird.
bust.
They look weird. I mean, a female Draenei looks good as a monk, but that will forever be my shaman, so I can't, do my shaman like that. I love my shaman. She's sexy.
Yeah. If
But-
I go full time brewmaster, I might go dwarf. If not, I'm having a hard time choosing between human and panda.
Yeah, stone
Mainly
form is
because
pretty
I
solid.
could cosplay as a panda,
Right.
but how do I want to look like myself in a video game?
Yeah, I really want dwarf because I did make it in beta, and they have the new graphics and all, and the
They look pretty
dwarves
sweet.
look
Yeah,
awesome.
they look nice.
And the female dwarf doesn't look that right to me, so I just picked male, and it looked awesome. The male Draenei looks too kind of like bulky-ish for me. I don't know. As a healer,
Those
it's
tentacles,
just
dude.
too big. And
Chris still
since the
loves
beta
them.
was down today, I couldn't go in and confirm whether or not the stone form shares a cooldown with either Fort Brew, Dampen Harm, or Diffuse Magic, because I've been leveling Neo, and she's a panda, so... once I go back in there, I'm going to test that out, because I totally forgot if that shares a cooldown or not. Because I know Trinkets share a cooldown with Nimble Brew,
I'm
which
sure
suck.
someone in the dojo will have that answer in 30 seconds when it catches up. All right, another
'cause they
piece of
have
news:
that
tier tokens. Currently, right now, you have to actually take them back to a vendor, turn them in. But now that all of the tier pieces are going to be for all 3 of your specs, or 4 if you're a druid, you can just click them just like you do the Timeless Isle. It will say, protector gloves, and you just click it and it will turn into your...
Use turns into an appropriate item
Yep.
for your spec. Hooray!
Yep. And they'll just switch specs as you go. So that's one less thing. So you should be able to just click it and go.
And wear it.
Right.
Because
Click and wear.
hooray!
Yep.
I know. Imagine being able to use that without having to take a 5-minute break and asking a mage for a portal and a warlock for a summon.
And a robot for which
Especially when you
reforge
don't
you
have to enchant the gym as well.
Yep. No, it's fantastic. It's more. It's right along line with World of Warcraft's idea of loot drop. Somebody wears it.
I have not seen this because I haven't rated, but the tier tokens still have like specific classes for
Yes.
each
Yeah.
token. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And-
whoever wins it, if they use it, the token itself is gone and becomes untradeable. So hopefully, whoever wins the token actually uses it.
Right. And whoever was the designer who thought putting both male classes on the same tier, especially putting monks on there too, I just want to slap them. That makes me, as a raid leader, trying to put party and raid composition in mind, that makes me very sad. So,
Yeah, how am I supposed to stack hunters if I'm not going to get loot? I want
Exactly.
10 hunters, and I'm screwing myself out of loot. Come on, Blizz. I need to chain that aspect of the fox, and you're making this difficult for my loot needs.
All right, and one of the best changes I like here, after patch 6.0, item upgrades are now going to cost 50 lesser charms. And items that were sold for Justice points will now be sold for gold. Valor points are gone, and Warforged seals no longer have a weekly cap, but I believe you still have the 10 seal cap
Yeah.
at a time.
Yeah, you still have the 10 total cap. Justice points and Valor points will be turned into gold when you log in on 6.0. Everything that used to cost Justice and Valor is gold. And like the main question that everyone had is, oh, what about heirlooms? It's like, well, they already have some heirlooms that cost gold, so they just look at those costs and go, that's how much it is.
Yep.
About 1,500 gold apiece. It's not bad.
Yeah, so now you can actually, a brand new player, if you want to help them level quickly, you can just give them a whole bunch of gold. They'll have heirlooms.
That's great.
Oh, God, more gold beggars.
Right. Need heirloom. Don't want to level through Goldshire anymore. Man. I'm excited for the 50 lesser charms. That means as soon as 6.0 drops, all of my Mistweaver gear is going to be fully upgraded.
Yeah, that means I should farm up some lesser charms. I think I have 7 right now.
Wow.
I'm right with you, Daikatsu. I don't pet battle, so I don't get charms from that. Nor do I endlessly slay frogs. So
see, I did it for the mount, the 100,000 coin mount.
Oh my God!
So
I'm waiting for the next expansion when I can just one-shot everything and just kind of run there and do it in like an hour, instead of now where it's like a couple week grind. You put a few hours into it.
Yeah, it's just me and Lady Chad got together and just killed stuff, and it was fine. Did good, and it got me. I have like 3.5 thousand charms right now, so I'll be able to upgrade everything.
I don't think I've had 3,500 charms total my entire expansion.
Right, you
I
get
think
just enough. You get your 50 to get your coins, and that's it. And
yeah,
that's
but
if
I've
you're
done
not
that.
Feeling lazy.
I could count how many times I've done that on one hand.
Right.
Because I think I wish there was a stat. Is there a stat that tells you how many times you use a bonus roll? Because I'd love to see that number on my character.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had one. I don't know if they do though. Check your stats.
Probably
page.
under statistics.
I'm looking that up
All right.
because I want to know that number.
Okay, beta notes coming out. There is a beta patch that just came out today. I haven't gone through those notes yet, but tank squish going into effect. So if you are a tank, if you're a brewmaster,
happy.
Yeah, if you're a brewmaster, don't freak out. You're gonna look at this and go, I'm gonna re-roll, but it doesn't matter which class you re-roll, except for if you go druid right now, because they didn't squish them this patch, but they will be. Essentially what they're doing is they're nerfing all of our active mitigation. They're nerfing the amount of stamina you have, damage mitigation you have, to bring you more in line, and they're reducing boss damage. This is excellent for Windwalkers because that means when you pull aggro, the boss turns around, it's not going to one-shot you. It will two-shot you. So you'll have a chance to get out of there.
Yeah, so basically what was happening is bosses, as it currently stood, had to threaten tanks because of how strong they were. They literally had to swing as hard as heroic Lei Shen does now. We're talking in the first tier of Warlords of Draenor with a stat squish with our health going down. They swing about as hard as heroic Lei Shen does right now. So right now the intent is to bring that down so that tanks are, again, they're more reliant on healers. They're not the self-sustaining gods that they are right now, and make it so that they don't have to make the tanks get hit for so hard to be of any actual threat, which sounds great, except when they test bosses and they've only squished the stamina.
Right.
That made things interesting.
Yeah, mythic testing, that was not very wise.
The only concern I do have is there is potential, if this isn't done right, to increase the skill floor and decrease the skill ceiling and bring it even closer together. I'm hoping that doesn't occur, but that is kind of something I'm keeping my eye on, since technically all forms of tank mitigation are now decreased, which means that you have potentially less impact on the damage you take. But if it's tuned right, it should be fine, but it's kind of something to keep an eye on.
So what this means for you as a brewmaster is that Stance of the Sturdy Ox is going to be nerfed in terms of your total amount of stamina and damage mitigation, and Shuffle is going to be nerfed as well. Now the stamina has already been nerfed from 40% stamina to 25% additional. I'm not sure if they're going to be nerfing that further. It sounds like they are, but we'll see. Fortifying Brew is going to have its duration decreased, and Resolve is being changed. It's no longer going to scale with stamina. It's only going to do the incoming damage over the last 10 seconds. So what's very important to remember, Brewmasters, is that similar mechanics on all tank classes have been nerfed as the same way, and boss damage in raids and dungeons have been reduced to compensate. So don't freak out when you see this in the notes.
And the funny thing about a tank squish is that it is also a healer buff.
Yes, this is true. So keep that in mind.
Yes.
Also in the patch notes, Ascension, they've been playing with that tier of talents. Ascension has been changed for...
Need to do something.
For Windwalker and Brewmaster, it's been nerfed a little bit. It was a little too overpowered at 20%. It's down to 15%. And for Mistweavers, they're increasing the mana pool increase from 15% to 20%. So Mistweavers is going to have a little bit of extra mana, and Windwalkers and Brewmasters are going to regen a little bit less energy. Because Windwalkers need to be slower, right? That's what we get from this. Power Strike, so now is going to trigger every 15 seconds down from 20 seconds. They may actually want... Power Strikes may actually be viable now. And also...
Save your Chi Brew.
Yeah. For Mistweaver, it's now going to trigger... Power Strikes will trigger on Surging Mist, but they've taken away that for Crackling Jade Lightning. All right. Now you can get something to add on this?
Yeah, just a little input. This is huge as far as if you're strictly mist weaving, not fist weaving, because fist weaving, it doesn't really count unless you're counting in your head. But as far as mist weaving, the cooldown for expel harm is 15 seconds. Power strikes happens every 15 seconds. So every 15 seconds, you get a free 2 chi, which I think that in 30 seconds, you get 4 chi. That'll be that's a huge competition for Chi Brew, which gives you 4 chi in 45 seconds, I believe.
Yeah.
Right.
The only problem I still see though is Chi Brew still does provide not only you can say controlled burst, which is already strong as a healer as it is, but it also provides mana through Mana Tea. Even though they did nerf it, it's still minimum 2 Mana Tea up to 4.
Yeah,
so it's still really solid.
Mana has not been too much of an issue, but I haven't had a real chance to play with the new Mana Tea generation model with Chi Brew.
Exactly. I mean, the power strikes would be perfect for like people who play dungeons, LFR, or just play normal heroic. As far as mythic goes, I think Chi Brew would be stronger. But power strikes, I think this change is extremely huge for those people who are more casual and just want more chi generating in that sense.
It's going to have its place, though. In fights like Karyath, it's going to be a little less burst and control needed. You can have power strikes and you get more chi overall. And so fights like that where you don't need that insane control that Chi Brew gives you, it's going to give you a better chi generation. So it has its place depending on the fight.
Right.
Depending on your other talent as well. Like I'm sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
But if you choose Chi Explosion, it's a very, very strong. I don't know the word to use, but it goes very well together. I believe if you know how to use Chi Explosion correctly.
Yeah.
Just something to keep in mind is that Mistweavers have been using Chi Brew before the Mana Tea buff to it.
Yeah, they're using Chi Brew
even in Throne of Thunder.
That's because Chi Brew was 2 extra uplift back then.
Yeah,
it still is. I mean, it still is now.
If you burn both now, yeah. But no, it's Chi Brew is going to have its place if you need burst, and there's going to be a lot of fights where you're going to need that burst heal where you need crap. I need 2 extra Chi right now. Bang, got it. The Mana Tea stacks are really kind of not necessary at the moment because just from the high amounts of crit we have in Siege of Orgrimmar gear, you're not really hurting for mana because you're always drinking almost a full 10 stack of Mana Tea every minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna withhold judgment to see with the one Mana Tea stack how that plays. With 2, I wasn't hurt for mana ever, so with 1, we'll see. It might be useful.
I've actually been testing both in Mythic, and a lot of the fights I've been doing was more steady damage all the time, which is kind of one of the things they're aiming for with counters, and Power Strike is by far the best. I was never suffering from mana as long as I didn't feel an itch in the finger to press Rushing Gateway too much. And I mean, the controlled burst if you had a boss with phases where burst was incoming, there wasn't enough time between them for Mana Tea to get off cooldown anyway. So Power Strikes was by far the best, even though it's pretty bugged at the moment. Sometimes it came up after 4 seconds, sometimes after 8 seconds, and if I was full on Chi, I didn't get the Chi orb. But even though it was bugged, I mean, it's still by far the best choice in my opinion in many
As
encounters.
intended. Working as
Yeah.
intended.
Exactly. It's pretty fun having it with 4-second cooldown though.
All right. Well, let's get into some tweets that came out. Let's see. LeBlue, you want to go over this tweet?
Yep, so at Mixos90 asks, so Windwalker monks can't use Touch of Death on players intended? Hope not. And Link responded, it will be usable on players below 10%. Not sure if it's in this build or the next one. So basically your PvP set bonus, you're just going to have it natively for all of you PvPers out there. Yay.
All right, Duke, you want to take the next one? It's from
Sure.
someone I don't trust this name at all.
Me either. At Womunk asks, any chance of Windwalkers getting a stackable utility cooldown? Hearing from Mythic teams that we won't be bringing Windwalkers or Mistweavers due to this. And Celestalon says, multiple Windwalkers not stacking their move speed is a concern, but that's a really rare combo currently. And it's just going to get rarer?
Yeah, I responded back and I told him, like, yes, it's a rare combo and I want to prevent that. So let's get some stackable utility so we can make it not a rare combo. No response to that one. Wow Monk asks again, Mistweaver utility is where the real hurt is, though. Devo Aura, Rebirth, Heroism, Guardian Spirit, Power Word Barrier. What did Mistweavers bring? And his response was Revival for its healing. Dispel is just a minor side benefit.
And your glorified power word shield, guys. You got this.
Excuse me.
It's instant.
Rage.
Yeah, well, and with that, I think it's time to meditate and expand our knowledge in
Transcendence.
All right, today we're going to be talking about Mistweavers in Warlords of Draenor. There was a huge feedback thread posted very eloquently, very well done by GeoDo on the forums. He consolidated a lot of the feedback from MMO Champion as well as Elitist Jerks and consolidated all of it on the Blizzard forums. Celestion did respond, so we're going to go kind of a call and response. LeBlue, you did a very good job on trying to consolidate this novel.
Yeah, that didn't work very well. I have one request.
It's only a 3-hour short story right now.
I have one request. I want Daikatsu to be Celestalon when he responds.
Oh, all right.
Oh, sizzle.
All right, are we ready to get this show on the road?
Let's do it.
All right,
Let's do it. Come on.
So the first point here was on utility and revival. TFT has lost a lot of its power with change as well as the uplift healing cap. It no longer feels like a meaningful cooldown and may get relegated to use on cooldowns similar to Inner Focus on Priest. Revival's healing is weak compared to other raid healing cooldowns and is only really decent in burst damage with light AoE after, but not so great against constant large pulses of AoE damage. The argument of instant continue healing after is weak because Healing Tide Totem is dropped immediately and the shaman continues healing. Druid Hots continue healing during the channel. An aspect of the Fox allows them to move while channeling. Holy Priests give a total of 18 seconds of increased healing done to raid members, which again can be casted on the move during aspect of the Fox. Life Cocoon is also weak as a tank cooldown because it lasted about 1 to 1.5 melee swings in Heroic 25, and the hot increase is tied to it, which causes the tank to take not full benefit of the ability. Your turn, Daikatsu.
Revival isn't underpowered, at least not by the giant amount you're talking about. Healing Tide Totem, with you're comparing to, and is very overpowered. Trank and DH are channeled and delayed. Healing Tide Totem is instant and delayed. Revival is instant and immediate, so absolutely should do the least net healing. The problem is that Healing Tide Totem was doing healing comparable to Trank and Divine Hymn, which is being fixed.
Don't forget the fist weaving part.
Oh, fist weaving tuning is fairly far off right now, so its utility is hard for you to judge.
That's our utility.
Oh.
A really good way to put it is revival gets better the worse your raid is. So in early progression, it sounds good. I don't know, once you kind of nail down things and you're like, all right, guys, if you're dying to this, we're probably going to bench you for someone else. Um, I don't know, Zuggy, obviously you're kind of like the direct counter here to this. As the person who does cooldowns, raid cooldowns, and single target external cooldowns and stuff, I can't justify bringing a Mistweaver monk over a Resto Druid or even another healer. Would you care to share insight for y'all on bringing a Mistweaver for Mythic?
In my opinion, I don't do raid cooldowns, but I would offer to sit anytime for any of the other healers. Main reason is because, first of all, what I would rather have is damage reduction cooldowns. You want those. I mean, who wouldn't want 20% of damage taken off rather than having to heal it up? You save mana, and you take less bursty damage. So obviously, a Devotion Aura would be best anytime. If you bring a Discipline Priest, you can have and you can stack up. You can have a barrier as well. Revival is like I've always called it. It's really situational and an oh shit cooldown. If something goes wrong. But I would never bring if I was like a raid leader or having to put cooldowns together, I wouldn't justify bringing a revival because it's easier to plan with a Trank or a healing tide totem. Cooldowns are easier to plan with those. And I've seen it even on Thug. I mean, we make cooldowns when we're supposed to use healing tide and stuff. My revival is never on that list. I just get told, use it if you feel like it's necessary. That's it.
¿Qué pasó?
What just happened? Why? Okay.
Yay, Skype.
Skype.
Well,
That's
apparently
good.
you were muted, but for some people.
I think Gulvin has it right in Twitch chat.
Ah, shoot. I was muted the whole bloody time. Yep.
Pro best
Okay.
host. Best show host.
Have you
Right.
been muted the whole show?
No, I have not been muted the whole
Oh,
show.
thank God.
I sat down. I sat down while you guys were doing your call and response, and then sat back up, and I didn't want the squeaking to be on. Forgot to turn myself back on because I'm an idiot. Okay, we have Naoki back on. Okay, we're going to pick up again. We get to have this discussion all over again. Fantastic. All right, so we're going to.
I think we're on point 2 now. So.
Oh no,
think.
we need to have the uplift.
I still have things to talk about revival.
Yeah, we still
Okay.
we still have the revival conversation to have. This one's very important.
That really is the bulk of this discussion.
Okay,
Well, let's get this show on the road
we are
then. We got a lot
going
to go over.
Yeah, we're going to pretend that you just finished doing your fist weaving point, and I will come in and say it again because that was not going to the Twitch feed. Okay, and. All right, the revival, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but I am going to say that he's absolutely right. Revival is very important because it is a cooldown where it's instant and it's given instantly. It's different than all the other healing cooldowns. And a lot of the other healing cooldowns, like Trank, like Healing Tide Totem, even if you bring the numbers in line, they are preemptive cooldowns. They're ones that you hit before something comes in or as something's come in that you know is going to happen. Revival is that, oh crap button. That's the one that's going to save raiders, especially in the cutting edge progression. It's going to save 2 or 3 people and get you a kill, whereas a Trank would lose somebody. And that's why I said that's why you would bring a Mistweaver. LeBlue, what do you think? You're muted.
Sorry.
There you go. All right.
No, I'm not muted anymore. I'm sorry. I'm still not sold. I understand progression's going to have its bumps and whatnot, but at that point, you either tell the person quit standing in the bad because you're being bad. You relegate another raid cooldown to it because you have mages and hunters galore, or you just stop bringing that person. I have a very hard time justifying their spot when I can get actual raid cooldowns for when they're necessary. And if I have an extra trank or something, I can tell the druid, hey, if things look bad, just throw it out, or I'll call for it. That's very hard for me to justify it over other raid cooldowns right now, though, unless something changes.
I honestly think the fact that it is such a responsive cooldown is its biggest drawback. Because unlike Trank, unlike some of the other cooldowns that people can use, you can time them and say, okay, this is the part where the boss is going to do a lot of damage over a little bit of time, hit a cooldown. Whereas Revival is that one of, oh crap, the tank missed a taunt, or oh crap, this happened. And let's face it, you fix that by tightening up whoever it is that's screwing up and causing the raid to wipe. You don't fix that by bringing in a Mistweaver monk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, any other day I would pass my spot to get one of the other raid cooldowns. I understand, Blank, that you do the raid compositions depending on the cooldowns, and even though I don't do that, I would agree that having a 20% damage reduction is better any day, because first of all, it scales with the boss damage you take, so the more damage you take, the better it gets. And as you said, the Revival is a responsive cooldown, and you have to wait until people is below half HP to get the maximum out of it. Whereas a Trank or a healing type, you pop it as soon as they've taken 10%. So people are at greater risk of dying if you want the full potential of a Revival. And even on Thug, I mean, when we make our cooldowns, we set a specific list of at what stacks we want people to use their cooldown, and I'm always getting told that I just use Revival if I think it's needed, because I mean, there's no really use for it anywhere else.
It's the snipe tranquility. That's what it's for.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Snipe your druid. That's what Revival's true purpose is right now.
And that's why our druid hates me on Malkarok. Pop Revival and pull.
Weren't you told at one point,
pop it.
Chai, that Revival is useless on Malkarok?
Yeah, someone told me that Revival...
like another monk.
Yeah, it was another monk. He's like, yeah, don't use Revival because it's it doesn't... Oh, he said it removes the shield. He counts it as a magic debuff. So, and I was like, what are you smoking, man? And so I hit it anyways.
It's like, hey, watch this.
Oh,
Number
hey,
one with
everyone's
the bullets.
green. Okay.
That's wait for both trinket procs, wait for your purified bindings and the prismatic prison to pop at the same time at the start, pop Revival, and I can't remember, it's been a very long time since I healed it. I want to say I was pretty close to 1,000,000 HPS, if not breaking it on the full. It was pretty, on the 25 heroic, it was really funny. But, then.
The biggest drawback that Revival has is the fact that it can be immediately overwritten by more boss damage. And that doesn't help. There needs to be something else that Revival does, or we just need some other kind of utility that no other class has. Like
okay. How about fist weaving?
Currently not. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. We can't say no. They have admitted it's undertuned, so we just have to kind of wait and see where the tuning falls and give them feedback on that.
Yeah.
Right now, if this is the game that went live, the answer is no.
No. Yeah. It doesn't do enough right now. But you bring it up, and we had this discussion on Twitter. I got yelled at a lot, so I'm going to say it again because I like getting yelled at, apparently. Fist Weavers bring a sliding scale. It's not that you are a full healer or a half healer. You are anywhere between 0.5 and 1 healer. And so if you need 0.2% more DPS to get that boss kill, that's where the Fist Weaver can do it. And I know LeBlue is going to say, but I'll just cut the Mistweaver and bring in a DPS if that's the case.
With raid utility.
Right. But that is not going. There are going to be times in your progression where 4 healers won't cut it, and 5 healers is too much.
We'll see. I mean, if fist weaving isn't tuned to be really strong on the DPS end,
it has to be
it has to.
tank damage. That's in order for fist weaving to be actual utility. You have to be doing about the same amount of damage as your tanks.
If they 50-50 split, it will fail.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
We will not bring one. We will not bring one. There's no
it
reason
needs to be to the point where I'm doing about 80% the damage of an average DPS player, which results in me doing about 40% healing compared to the average healer. And that's utility. Now you're talking about actual utility, where you can trade anywhere from between 40 to 100% of your healing, 0 to 60% of your healing for some good damage.
And
but
it's not going to be, you're not going to be in fist weaving the whole time, you're not going to be in mist weaving the whole time. This is a new playstyle, and this is going to be...
No, when we talked about crane stance at the beginning, one of the hopes that I had was that a good Mistweaver is judged by the person who knows what stance to stand in when.
Right.
You're not going to be stance dancing, you're not going to be switching every 30 seconds, but you're going to know, okay, during this phase I can do this, during this phase I got to be in Serpent, during this phase I got to be Crane, and each boss is going to have a different rhythm, which is going to require you to be in different forms, be a different kind of player during each fight.
Exactly
that gets
what
interesting.
Is exciting me about and this is why I'm switching from Windwalker to Mistweaver, is that capability to actually have stances and have a stance that matters, instead of just having your stupid Fierce Tiger stance doing their nothing blank. So that's what's exciting me. So I think we need to move on to point number 2, unless now you can have anything to throw in for Revival.
Yeah, a couple things. I disagree completely with Celestalon, and I agree with Zuggy on this, where we need it needs to be switched to a damage reduction, because Revival is complete crap. I don't agree with Revival at all. A perfect example would be if anyone has done Heroic Nazgrim, where War Song does an incredible amount of damage. Either you use it before and top everyone off, and your overheals is like stupid high, which makes no sense, or you wait until the damage goes out and you're risking 2 or 3 people dying before you pop Revival, because you can't pop it during like Healing Tide Totem and Tranquility. You know what I mean? So it's very dangerous as far as popping it before and you're overhealing, wasting a Revival, or popping it after 2 to 3 people are dead. And that is not a raid utility that I believe is going to be important in Mythic.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
That's one thing we need to state up front before we keep going down these points. We're really talking about Mythic only.
Yeah.
If you're a hopeful Mistweaver and you're looking at normal and heroic rating, you're fine. You really are fine. There's going to be some balancing that'll make you a little bit better and a little bit worse, but you're going to do okay. We're talking about Mythic, where the difference between success and failure really is that 1%.
Yeah, that's the base of the show, is just Mythic. And like, if you're a player like me, where you're just a casual Mythic player, where you want progression here and there, then that's fine. But if you're a hardcore Mythic like LeBlue and Zuggy, then this is going to hurt you guys the most.
All right.
Unlike what Chai is saying.
Can I say a quick thing just before we move away from crane stands too much and stuff? I tried it out on the... I'm bad with names, but the arena boss on Mythic, and actually it worked out pretty good. It was 50-50, exactly 50-50 healing and damage. I was roughly doing the same damage as the tanks, but the thing is with crane stands on that specific fight is that the boss actually gets a multiplier when you get the favor of the crowd, and that's really useful for crane stands, because then you do more damage and thus more healing.
Yeah, it's just like Windwalker is now. It's multiplicative.
So on a fight like that, crane stance could be useful, especially because the damage is very spread, which is one of the issues Mistweavers have, like fights like Juggernaut, for instance, where it's just spot healing all over the place. So
Now, was it because of the buff that it went to 50-50, or was it 50?
no, that was actually because our raiders failed pretty bad with not standing in fire. So, but I just know we had it to 100 at some point in the fight, and my healing actually and damage went up quite a bit, and I was actually beating the lowest damage dealers as well on the damage. So, on that fight, it's pretty viable.
All right.
That's awesome.
LeBlue, you still with us, or did Skype kill you?
Yeah, I'm back now.
Okay.
I'm here.
Can you put in your video, or
Is my video dead right
your
here?
video is dead?
Oh, we got our quackers.
Yeah.
One sec.
Yeah,
Here we
lots
go.
of quackers. All right.
There we go.
Okay, let's move on to point 2.
All right. So RNG healing and uplift hard cap. A lot of our healing with Rem and Uplift is RNG causing massive amounts of overheal or healing players who simply don't need it. This is less of a problem in stacked fights and larger raid sizes due to a rushing Jade Wind, but fights like Paragons, healing mechanics like Fire Lines comes down to luck and may cause the Mistweaver to be a liability. There's a very large discrepancy between minimum, average, and maximum healing that can be caused by Rem and Uplift. The large amount of RNG makes it unreliable, which isn't desired in a healer and makes this difficult to balance as well. Uplift capped at first made sense, but was a bit confusing because Uplift was already capped by how many rems you had. Even with the multi-strike bonus, we'll still have 6 rems out at a time in the first tier at least. Rem multi-strike procs also have the potential of making Uplift worse because of spreading the healing even thinner. As long as a player is not at 100%, whether that be 30% or 99%, Uplift will split the healing with them beyond 6 players, which could cause Uplift to do more overhealing, especially if you get lucky with Rem multi-strike procs. Pool of Mist is a Band-Aid talent. Should probably have been baseline, since we should have a larger amount of control over our heals and not something we have to talent into.
Renewing Mist is partially uncontrollable. The vast majority of it is effective. All the math you did on chances for Uplift to hit injured targets is great, except that it assumes the rems and the damage targets are randomly distributed. Rem will be extremely worth it to cast on its own merits. I'm fairly certain that it is already. Managing that partial uncontrollable healing to still produce solid results is a key tenet of Mistweaver healing style.
I think he forgot that they got rid of smart heals in WoD, or not. I don't know.
Yeah, it just goes to the
truly
nearest.
smart though. It's never been truly smart.
Nearest or furthest injured target instead of the nearest or furthest most injured target.
Zuggy said, a lot of the bosses in Mythic are going to be doing constant damage. The concern is that your Renewing Mist is going to hit a target with 99% health, and it's going to be wasted. That's the concern. However, the chances of that happening are extremely low in these types of fights because you're going to be taking constant damage. So your constant streams of random ticks, you're getting bonus ones going and ticking on other people. You are going to get control of 1/3 of your Renewing Mist. You can target the player you need to target. Now, Duke had a fantastic idea for a glyph that we've suggested to Celestalon, and I really hope they implement it. Duke, you want to tell us about that one?
Sure. Basically, assume one of the key things about Renewing Mist is that it is a 3-target hot versus we like to compare it to 1-target hots. Fine. Let's take that as gospel and say that Renewing Mist does 300% healing. I want to change Renewing Mist to do 200% of that to my first target, 75% to my second target, and 25% to my third target. Because I pick who gets the initial rem. I don't care about the other two. The other two could be, a couple of jerks in LFR that keep calling me names because I'm a monk. I don't want them healed, so I want them to get as little healing as possible out of Renewing Mist. I want the guy I picked.
Yeah, I would even be fine with 200%, 100, or 50-50, sorry. 200%, 50-50. Math is hard. But in anyways, the point of the glyph would be to front load your healing on the target you choose, and then the rest of them get a bonus. I think that's a fantastic idea.
You're adding the total amount of HP back into the pool. And let's face it, in a lot of cases where you're talking about a monk has trouble doing single target output unless it's soothing and surging. When you're talking about Renewing Mist, you're adding back to the total health pool of the raid. So let's do that. Let's front load it and add it to the person we targeted, and the other two just kind of get a bonus that when you hit Uplift, since Uplift will hit them for the same amount, the people you picked for Uplift will get a little bit of a front loading, but the people that you didn't pick will get a lot more uplift. So uplift feels more like a bonus when you hit it, versus now where it feels like you're missing out.
Right. It's a uplift delivery vehicle in that sense. I don't think it would have its place in every fight. It would have its place in fights when you need that more control, but in fights where there is constant damage going out, you would probably want the unglyphed version of that, which is exactly what you want to do. You want to have glyphs that you don't have as static, that you change every fight. And so I think that's a perfect
Let's face
one.
it, our glyphs are kind of boring. We don't really have... You know, a priest were complaining a while ago because they have like 6 or 7 glyphs, which could be considered mandatory, and Blizzard's like, good, we want that. We want you to kind of sit there and struggle over the choices you're making. Right now, I think outside of like Renewing Mist, I don't really have any other glyphs that I want to go for.
Yeah. All right, so LeBlue and Naoki, which one wants to say how wrong Celestalon is?
Or go ahead, Naoki.
I totally disagree with him saying that it's partially uncontrollable. I think it's completely uncontrollable. And only your first cast is controllable. The other 2 are completely not controllable at all.
Third.
But that's the very definition of partially uncontrollable.
Exactly.
He could have also said it is, majorly majorly uncontrollable, but minorly you pick the first target. But basically, you're picking 1/3 of your targets. That's partially.
I still want to be angry with Celestalon. So
I'm not saying you can't be angry with Celestalon. There's
We're
like
just arguing
11
semantics
other
here,
things
sir.
you can yell at him about, but saying I don't think he's right about partially uncontrollable, it's like, no, that's established fact.
Well,
anyways,
as far as Renewing Mist go, I mean, I can't really say much about this part except that I love the fact that you gave him the idea for the glyph, because the glyph it just sounds awesome, especially as far as the numbers go, 200, 75, 25, or like Chai said, 250, 50. And I would even up it more to where, since it's our ranged AoE heal, how would you guys feel if they brought the mana cost up to bring it to par with Rushing Jade Wind, since that would be our melee AoE heals?
Bringing the cost of
Renewing Mist up to the same as Rushing Jade Wind.
Oh, good lord, no.
No.
That would be horrible.
No, thanks.
That already sucks out all my mana when I
Rushing
use
Jade
it.
Wind, you go real quick. So you're talking about just like powering it, like making it super powerful when you throw it on, and upping the mana cost?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're just
with
doing...
the glyph, of course. Only with the glyph, though.
The problem is that you can't make Renewing Mist more powerful than its kind of equivalent, which is Rejuvenation.
Right, yeah, you're just
And
making
the
it
fact-
a rejuve at that point.
Yeah, and the fact that it is a 3-target healer is something that a 3-target heal is something that Blizzard goes back to and says that's why it's a low tick. So we kind of have to treat Renewing Mist as adding to the overall pool of health versus whereas Rejuve adds to a single person at a time.
Yeah.
So yeah, generally we should probably see about 1/3. It doesn't feel nice, and that's the main problem. If it was doing 2/3 to the person you picked and then there was a little bit of bonus over here, that feels better because it feels like you're at least contributing, and uplift becomes a bonus past the 2 people you picked.
All right, Zuggy, what do you think?
First of all, I would like to say that I read the tweet about the glyph and I thought it was an amazing idea. And I was pretty surprised I didn't come up with that one myself.
Hold on a second. I'm going to take a victory lap.
It kind of sounds like chain heal going hot style.
Yeah.
And also I must admit, right now we're at a point where I don't really care where my Renewing Mist goes. I don't even really target the first one at all. I just throw it on someone.
Yeah.
At this point, having that glyph would make his statement of how was it he put it? Managing the partially uncontrollable healing that would make sense then, because then you really wanted to target someone with the first one. Both tanks, maybe someone who had a debuff where you know that the 200% of how much it is getting its full beneficial output, or benefit of the extra output. As far as uplift goes, I don't really know how they can change it. I mean, to begin with, I was really hyped about multi-strike because I immediately thought, okay, uplift is gonna be sick then, and it's gonna have nice synergy. And then we're gonna cap it at 6, and I was like, why? Especially with pools of mist. I've been playing with pools of mist, and it's amazing, especially now after they fixed it.
You can get
it's actually really good.
You can blanket your entire mythic raid now with it, with renewing mist, if you get lucky with your multi-strike.
I
know.
I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, there should be a cap, but still, I think 6 players might be a bit.
It would be normal if uplift went by the same cap that all other AOE spells go to. To have a hard 6 cap kind of makes uplift. It makes that idea of I'm going to renewing mist all these people. It kind of makes you feel like you wasted your time a little, because
it's punishing.
You don't get the return, and that's the problem. You're putting in all this work to get these hots out there, but you don't get the return.
How much does it diminish? Like, if you hit 20 people, how much would you hit them for?
Basically, uplift will never do more than 110% times 6 of your spell power, right? So assume that you have 2,000 spell power. Let's get some math going. Okay. Why not? Hold on.
So essentially, you're going to just like spit on them with mist is what's going to happen.
To simplify it, if you do 600 healing, if you can do 600 healing with six targets that take full healing from uplift, 600, now divide that up to go to an additional 14 people.
Right.
So
instead
of 16,
average with
no. What'll happen is that it's essentially going to be divided by 20.
Yeah, it's going to be you're always going to do 600, but now you have to just divvy that up in these itty bitty little chunks that actually aren't going to really do anything for anyone.
Yeah, it's not going to be 20. I mean, on average, I'd say probably if you're getting your multi-strike procs, you're going to have 10, like roughly around 10 people.
So with 2,000 spell power, you're going to add 2,200 health back into the raid. All right, that's for 6 people. Once you start getting to the point where, okay, I'm not adding 6 people. Let's say 10 people are injured. Now you're only adding 132,000.
I mean, 1,320.
So you're
1,320. I was like, wow, they just buffed the crap out of that overnight.
I can do math. I can't read.
Right.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, if you take a look, even though healing rain is pretty garbage at the moment for shamans, it always heals someone who's injured. I mean, it doesn't overheal that much at all compared to uplift. What they could do is, although it might get too strong, but add kind of the cloak effect we have now on uplift. So if it overheals, then that healing is divided between targets within 5 yards of the target that's overhealed. That would
probably a bit short,
fix it. Yeah, I know, probably a bit short, but still, I don't want it to be too overpowered either. So, but I mean, just bring stuff like that in, because right now, I mean, even though Celestalon said, well, uplift is not gonna count full targets towards the healing cap. No, but if you lost like 100 HP, then you count.
Yeah.
All it takes is being 99% to value uplift. I guess
if you're missing 1 hit point, congratulations, you just added a bunch of overheal.
My biggest problem with us as RNG healers is it worked out okay in tier 14, and I guess even to a lesser extent tier 15, not so much in 25, but because we were almost like that raid-wide pulsing healing aura almost for the raid. Which gave us a role. Like, that was our role in the raid. We helped make sure that the other healers could actually keep up, and it was overpowered, but I felt like it could almost be tweaked around, versus what we're kind of having now, where it's like, well, you're kind of just useless. I'm going to take Chi Explosion or hope we're stacked. When people are discussing the merits of, instead of casting Uplift, you're just spot healing like AoE damage with enveloping mist, I feel like there's a problem somewhere. there's an issue. So
All right. Let's move on to the GCD and haste.
Right. Everyone's favorite stat: 1.5 second GCD and the value of haste. Read by Blue. Haste value still doesn't match up to crit or multi-strike, since it doesn't extend mana usage and it only allows for more soothing span, which is our low throughput heal. With 50% haste buff in circumstance, haste value is actually closer to crit. Now without it, it's further away and worse because of how much more haste is required to get 1% haste bonus to Spinning Crane Kick, Rushing Jade Wind, Renewing Mist, and Enveloping Mist compared to 1% crit for all healing.
That's how haste works for healers. Not as much throughput due to mana as crit/multi-strike, but it's reliable, and getting that heal to your target faster is of intangible but high value. I think he's right.
Now, you want to hear the kicker? Crit also has a mana reason to it too, to give it even more value. And the haste thing, there is a half-second GCD for Soothing Mist to retarget people in surging right now. So
that's not a bad thing.
Also, indirectly, multi-strike also has a mana value because it gives you more chi, which translates into more mana. So,
we know haste is not going to be that big a deal. A lot of people complain about the 1.5 second GCD. It feels a little slower, but now we're on par with some of the other healers. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Yeah, so he says getting the heal to your target faster is an intangible but high value. I mean, the more haste you get, the more ticks you're going to get Renewing Mist. And it's nice that there's no caps anymore. So,
that would... See, his statement there would be true if we had big cast time spells, but basically you just soothing somebody and your two big cast time spells are instant. Big whoop-de-doo.
I'm really glad my GCD was 1.3 seconds. We're
probably not going to want haste. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
I'm really glad that was 1.3 seconds instead of 1.5, so I could throw that Renewing Mist out. I totally saved 800 hit points out of that person's 300k health. Go me!
It's really
not that big. It's not that big a deal. This is honestly the 1.5 second GCD, and haste isn't as good as crit multi-strike is the weakest argument in the entire list.
Don't we hate haste now anyways? It's just status quo.
We don't hate it. We get it to a break point, and then we're like, F you, haste.
Right.
And basically, we're just going to get to the part where we go, F you, haste real early, and that's it. Yeah. People are going to want haste until they feel comfortable, and then that's the end of that.
I don't know.
So you're gonna,
as a Fistweaver, I'm going to want haste up the yin just because I want to feel more like a Windwalker, man.
Yeah, so
haste has more value with the 50% haste buff because each point of haste is actually worth more than its stated value, which would actually make it better and more on par.
Because of that 50% haste buff is the only reason people want haste, which means that haste in itself is as devalued now as it is in the future.
But it would still be a better on par stat. I mean, if it has to have its value at all,
it doesn't have to be a good on par stat. That's the point. We don't necessarily want to have 1/3 of this, 1/3 of this, 1/3 of this. There are going to be stats that you're going to say, "This is my build. I want more crit. I want more crit. I want more multi-strike. I don't want as much haste," and that's going to be the build.
With the advent of reforging going away, they're trying to make stats close as they possibly can. To have a stat like this that's such an outlier feels bad. It feels awful, and I don't see why they don't try to fix that. Because it's just, if I see haste gear, I shouldn't go, "Oh, this could be an upgrade," but haste is so bad. Like, for example, Fury Warriors in haste right now. It's so bad that I will pass up on an upgrade because haste is on it. That feels terrible.
But we do that now.
With Mistweavers right now, though, we don't have the mana concerns a lot of other healers do. So every point of haste that we get in there, we don't have to worry about it as much for crit and multi-strike to get that mana control back. And so every point of haste, while it's not as good as crit or multi-strike, we still put it to really good use, especially if you're doing a lot of Renewing Mist spam. That's going to increase your heals on Renewing Mist, and you're going to get extra ticks. And so I think we actually do better than a lot of other healers in terms of the value of haste.
Yeah, talk to a paladin right now about haste, and they will start spitting and cursing because they don't want haste as a healer.
Here's another thing, though, you got to keep in mind. part of the intent behind Manatee was to suck up some time that we gained because of our 50% haste buff and whatnot, because we spent so much. Our channel speed for Manatee does not change with haste.
No.
We are still chugging at the exact same pace.
Yeah.
So there's another thing that haste kind of just doesn't do anything for.
Right.
So you're still spending the same amount of time chugging Manatee.
Yeah.
But that's part of the spell.
Zuggy or Naoyuki, got anything on this one?
I agree with you, Chai, with everything you just said. As far as how much haste we're going to want, by leveling, I'm assuming for fist weaving, we're going to want the same amount of haste that we had in Heroic Siege of Orgrimmar. Like the same amount of haste I have on Naoyuki right now is perfect for fist weaving. It does not feel slow at all, and it feels like it's the perfect amount of haste where I don't need to worry about haste anymore, and then just worry about crit multi-strike gear. So unlike LeBlue says, where it's completely useless, I feel like if there's haste on gear, I think it has its place, especially since we're stance weaving, sort of say. But
we're not going to want it on every single piece. So
exactly, yeah.
It's the exact same thing that happens right now when something that has mastery on it drops.
Yeah, we're like, no, stay away.
That's not an excuse, though. They're trying to bring stats closer together. It shouldn't. I understand
It's
we're going
not
to good
as bad
bad.
as
Closer
mastery was, though.
together, closer together does not mean equal.
Yeah.
They would never, ever intended to make the stats equal. They intended to make certain specs favor certain stats.
That's why there's
You're going to
limit.
want to maximize certain stats. You're going to want to minimize other stats. That's called min-maxing, and it's part of the game they're never going to remove.
All right,
And
last thoughts,
will
Zuggy.
pass up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I'm a bit torn between the two. What I should think about haste actually. For fist weaving, it's nice. As I said, I did mythic testing, and I almost had too much multi-strike because I was actually getting kept with my Rising Sun kick stacks. And you get so much crit. I was running with 50% crit.
Oh, jeez.
So haste would be
Sounds
pretty
lovely.
sweet at that point. And for mistweaving, I don't know. It depends on the fight. Let's say there's a fight where your raid is like it's supposed to be in Blizzard Heaven. No one is ever gonna be 100%. Then I could say, yeah, okay, haste, the extra ticks is pretty fine. But then again, so is the multi-strike, so is the crit. If you're never topped anyway, nothing of it is overhealing. And I mean, if you do the math, crit and multi-strike is probably gonna give you more than the haste anyway.
Yeah.
But then again, you can get the hot cell faster. Yay!
Okay, LeBlue, I think we're going to do the next 2 points and then stop there.
Alrighty. So next one, Gift of the Serpent, Detonate, and the Value of Mastery. Gift of the Serpent is uncontrolled and been considered Lightwell 2.0. Players have to go out of their way to heal themselves, which, outside of hunters and maybe melee, is a DPS loss to the point where it isn't uncommon to be advised to ignore them. This adds another element of uncontrollability to Mistweaver healing that can end in no extra healing at all depending on the fight. Mastery's scalars are also incredibly weak, giving Mastery roughly 55% of the value of crit per point, ignoring the fact that crit also generates Manatee. This is all pre-25% Gift of the Serpent buff, which will still bring it to roughly 70% of crit's value before Manatee benefits. Go ahead, Daikatsu.
Sorry, had a barking dog.
Oh my.
Yes. This is a great example of psychological impacts of tuning in game design. Because mastery has been weak in the past, it has to be overpowered before some people will like it. We're not planning to do that. No, it is not tuned around expecting your raiders to go out of the way to take advantage of it. That's just a straw man. Everything we're seeing from actual data indicates that it is effective. Only a small fraction of it ever gets truly wasted now, and that's offset by the fact that it does less overhealing than average.
How much of that's propped
in the
up by
beginning
the
of
set bonus?
Siege, in the beginning of Siege, Reglitch developed a SCADA plugin that allowed you to track how many orbs were used and how many orbs exploded without any healing. And I checked it for my raid team, which is about as average a raid team as you could find. We kill bosses on a regular basis, but we're not racing for world first or anything. So we are probably right at that 50 percentile. And we were using over 90% of the orbs that were out if I had the enduring sphere glyphed. If I did not have the enduring sphere glyphed, we were using around 80%.
Zuggy, I'm going to ask you a question here.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you using Detonate Chi?
If I'm using Chi Explosion, I'm actually using it quite a lot, and it's sometimes third on my healing. The healing spheres, that is. When I'm not using Chi Explosion, I kind of forget to press it because I'm not really during testing paying attention to how many orbs do I have out. I would really like an add-on tracking how many orbs I have out, so I know, is it worth pressing this button?
Wouldn't it be nice if
you don't have any orbs out, you still use the mana and it still goes on cooldown.
Right.
Now what the hell is that?
Wouldn't it be nice if it did like a lot of the other things and just kind of lit up once you hit a certain amount? Like,
yeah, I mean, they could do anything. I mean, they could even have a small number increase.
Yeah, have a little ticker there.
Yeah, on it. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure there was going to be an add-on out there for it.
It is a sweet extra instant heal. Like first I use all my chi on uplift, and then I press that button. I mean, mastery is not something I would go for. Maybe if I made some weird ass build with chi explosion and then some kind of mastery build, I don't know. But it's not bad. The healing is not bad.
This is another part of what's making me switch to Mistweaver is the ability to do those kind of crazy builds and be effective. A high mastery and crit build would be insane with Detonate Chi if it's a kind of a stacked fight. Especially with Chi Explosion, it's like that would just do ridiculous amounts of healing, and so mastery actually has a place depending on the fight, which is really cool. I like that. Because
right now, if you got mastery on the stat, you're doing it wrong.
Right? Yeah. If you have high mastery, you are wrong. I don't care what you're doing, you are wrong. But mastery has a place.
I just want to make a quick correction. Apparently, the SCADA add-on was made by Geth.
Yes.
Not Reglitch.
Yeah,
so
Reglitch
I just wanted to make sure that we get that.
Windwalker for it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the two confused. Imagine that.
All right, LeBlue, why are we wrong?
Where do I start? Well, the first problem with the scalars of it are they are not properly giving the full, like you're not getting a 1% increase per percent of mastery as you should because the scalars are all mucked up. Total Totemic and Reglitch have both done a crap ton on this. This is what the scalars should be for mastery to have its proper value. And I don't think we've ever gotten a full answer from the devs at all of this is where we expect how much of X amount of Gift of the Serpent healing to go in for your mastery to be actually worthwhile. So while he says, well, we don't actually tune it around your entire raid always picking them up, it'd be nice to know roughly where they're looking at so we can kind of figure out what the actual value is from a more mathy point.
Have they ever given that information to anybody?
No, they won't, and that's making it really difficult to pin an actual value that they're looking at for our mastery. Not only that, if I'm on any other healing class and I get mastery, I know I'm getting X amount of extra healing per X amount of mastery. That on its own is a big thing to me. It's really hard for me to like something where I look at a healing sphere and I go, you might be useful. You might be useful. Oh, wait, we just moved all the way over here. Goodbye, my healing spheres. I love you. Goodbye.
Especially we do have the only healing mastery that depends on everyone else to use it.
But not as much anymore. We have more control over it now.
Detonate Chi exploding these balls for 100% of their healing is amazing.
I'm getting to that.
Uh-oh.
So our enduring healing sphere glyph is gone.
Right.
That is gone. We don't have that anymore, so no longer will you see fields of green. That is gone. We're back to the dead brown grass with little patches of green.
All my irradiated rabbit poop.
Yep. So, and then I feel like there's something inherently wrong, if you will, with the mastery when it requires an extra button that costs extra mana to give it more value to try to close the gap. I feel something's wrong there.
Not only
Every
that,
mastery works that way, though.
It's a 12-yard range when it explodes as well, right? So
Yeah.
on the high movement fights, it's just completely
Yeah,
useless. 'cause
high
your balls
movement
are right
fights.
there.
High movement fights is when you're as a Mistweaver, you are going to be carrying around multiple sets of gear. You're going to be switching gear between fights because on stack
Yeah, but
fights,
you can't switch
the
it in the
value of
middle of
mastery
the fight,
goes.
though.
No, you can't. But you will know what the fight is, and you'll be able to tune yourself that way. Because like on stack fights or fights where there is a lot of stacking, anyways, it doesn't have to be pure stack. Mastery is going to have a much higher value than if it's a very high movement fight. And so you're going to be swapping out gear and swapping out potions and swapping out food and stuff like that. So it's a whole new mini game. It allows you to kind of master the class, whereas before you didn't have that ability.
Like, I think was Duke, you said something about how every healer's mastery is like that. That's not true. If I cast heal as a priest, I get my mastery benefit. But as a Mistweaver, to get possibly some of the benefit from my mastery, I now have to spend extra mana. I don't just cast the heal and get the benefit. It just feels wrong. It might work, but it still feels wrong.
I understand that, but let's look at the shaman one. The lower a target is, the more healing they do, right?
Yep.
So how do they get the benefit of mana? How do they get the benefit of the heal unless they're healing? Unless they're already spending mana. Their mana costs are already in line with that.
But they don't have to go, okay, I just healed this person, but now they're at 50%, so now I have to cast this additional spell to get that extra healing. They cast a spell and
all
they get
the healing that you're going to get from that one additional spell, I mean, just on a mana to heal ratio, it's through the roof. Especially since if you're looking and you're like, okay, there's a field of green little balls hanging out right here, let me hit that. You're going to be adding a lot back to the total raid.
Unless you're spamming Chi Explosion, though, you're not going to see that field of green anymore. They don't last long enough. They simply don't.
They last 30 seconds.
That's a blink of an eye in a raid, dude. Especially with the 1.5-second global cooldown. We're going to be slower to begin with, so less spell ticks. And then we're going to have less rems because of Thunder Focus T change. Unless it's... I don't know. I'm skeptical. I still don't like Gift of the Serpent as a mastery, and I will continue to do so, and we can agree to disagree.
Honestly, I'm just glad it actually has a usage now. Now, Yuki?
Yeah.
What you got?
I just really hope they were gonna make the change that I wished for and that I tweeted, that they make our mastery kind of like, because to begin with, on the early beta, they were actually following people slowly.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that they made them like a buff on people like Earth Shield, so the next time they took damage, they would get healed and then have a maximum stack of maybe 2 or 3.
That way, you like would the Mario Kart bubbles.
Well, that way it would have a benefit. I mean, I've had really a lot of ideas how they could redesign that spell, make it so that
Turning
the next
that into an
uplift
absorb
would be,
amazing.
or the next heal they took would be increased by a certain percentage, and then the mastery would increase that percentage of the spawn chance, or maybe even have a flat spawn chance, and then increase the healing depending on how much mastery you had. I mean, but the best idea I think would just be to make it a buff on people like an Earth Shield.
Yeah.
That way they would never go to waste as such.
Okay. All right. Now, Yuki, you got any thoughts on this?
I was against this at first, but then you spoke about knowing what the boss needs as far as if it's a high stackable fight or high movement fight, like I stated earlier. I agree with you. On high movement fights, especially stacking fights, you're going to go with Chi Explosion and more mastery and whatnot. And I think what'll help this out, if they don't want to fix mastery, a simple solution would be an add-on to know how many orbs are out there before we hit that detonate chi and waste our mana on detonate chi, because if we're only wasting it and there's one orb out, that's just a waste of mana. But if we use Chi Explosion, and there's like 50,000 orbs out, and we use it.
Yeah, it'd be nice, like right now when you cast healing spheres, you actually get a little buff that tells you how many spheres are out there.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if that buff also counted the Gift of the Serpent.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have a feeling it's going to be exactly like Storm, Earth, and Fire right now, where you're going to have an add-on to use maximum utility on that. Because with the Windwalker, if you don't have Storm, Earth, and Fire add-on or Weak or something like that, you're wasting a lot of DPS, and I have a feeling it's going to be the exact same thing with healing spheres for right now.
I'm hoping that there will be an add-on, because honestly, I don't know how you would track that.
Obviously,
there's a way
did it,
because Geth.
Well, Geth did.
No. Glitch did the Weak Aura. There is a spell trigger that happens every time your mastery kicks in and creates a sphere. So then what you basically have to do is you have a running counter that says it's been cast this many times, and I've seen the heal cast X, Y many times, and the amount of spheres you have out is X minus Y.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
okay. That makes sense. Then
it's
there will definitely have to be an add-on or a Weak Aura for that for Mastery and Chi Explosion to be useful in Mythic, especially in stacking.
All right, let's go.
Someone in chat also just said glyph it so it's an absorb on the balls instead of a heal. That's another thing. I think that the absorb from our two-part bonus right now should be a baseline, to be honest.
Yeah, that'd be kind of
because that one also heals quite a bit.
I'm okay taking the job away from Dispriest.
Perfectly fine.
Exactly.
Yep. All right. Okay, Lebu, let's get to our final point. Now, I'm going to stick this out here. Because of, we don't want the show to be 8 hours long. We're going to just do the top 5 of these. He had like 16 points. Lessalon answered all of them. So I will include the link in the show notes, but I'm sure you can find it. Just search Mistweaver, Celestalon, burn and die in a fire. I'm sure you will find it. So go ahead and check it out. Read through, and there's been answers on there. So go ahead and do that. Let's go to Crane Stance.
All right, Crane Stance, useless or nearly useless in Mythic. Mistweaver was sold to be a melee healer, but now with Crane Stance so that people aren't forced to Fistweave to be optimal and not be a melee healer. It is balanced around 50-50 healing, may as well bring a DPS that has more utility to cover where you normally want the healing. Lots of monks providing the feedback preferred the 5.0, 5.1 healing style of Zeal Weaving, and it's unfortunate that this went away because players who rolled a melee healer didn't want to be in melee. It didn't do a large amount of damage, but didn't gimp healing either.
No, Crane Stance is not intended to be useless in Mythic. That's silly. The tuning is off on it, and we'll fix it.
Nice and short and sweet there.
And that's really the answer. For a lot of people, it's how much output does it put out? Not a lot? Well, then it's useless.
It's going to flirt that line with overpowered. If it doesn't flirt that line just right, it's not going to be viable.
It's either,
I'm sorry.
It's going to be very, very difficult, and it completely depends on fight and raid makeup, everything like that.
Player.
And yeah, it depends on the player as well, but it's going to be very, very difficult to balance it where it's either going to be bring all the Mistweavers or bring no Mistweavers.
The way I see it is, it's on that raise. To justify that one Mistweaver spot is, well, they can do, we'll say 70-50 for sake of argument or whatever. Mm-hmm. To justify that spot, you have to ask yourself, the damage that Mistweaver brings during those down phases where they're fist weaving, can that be made up by better play and more pulls as people understand it? Because DPS naturally goes up as people get better. And then for the healing requirements, same thing. Can that be covered with a raid cooldown or with better play? There's a very fine, razor-sharp line there that if they miss on either side, it's going to go the way they don't want to. And if it goes the overpowered way, it's going to get nerfed. If it goes underpowered way, they're not going to be brought. That is a incredibly fine line that they have to walk there.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, and that's where we talked about earlier, where Crane Stance needs to do about the same amount of damage as a tank, and then it'll do about healing, about half of that is healing. We've already had Eminence buffed from 35% to 50% during the beta. So they already want your Eminence healing to be a larger part. And the nice part is, it's going to scale with the gear you got, because crit and multi-strike is going to be really helpful for both stances. So you're going to be able to rely on a core set of gear and swap out as you need it. I don't see this to be a problem until we find out. Eventually they're going to say, okay, we're really happy with how Crane Stance is doing right now. And that's the point at which you can make the decision. We know right now they're not happy because we're not happy. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. The issue I've seen though with a lot of the mythic fights that I've tried Crane Stance on, I've tried to swap back and forth, but it's such a small window you have where you can actually swap out. So you're gonna spend like 20% of your global cooldown just on switching stance. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd rather just stay in one or the other.
Or if you swap, I'll have it only be 2 to 3 times during the fight instead of.
Yeah. If you have to, some encounters you go to a different platform and fight some adds. It's not a ton of damage there compared to the boss platform. So then instead of bringing one entire healer to that platform, you could bring a little bit less healing and then a little bit more DPS, and then throw that guy over there. For instance, again in the arena fight where you have to go take down the crowd, you could bring a Mistweaver up there instead.
Right. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the conclusion.
All right. So, conclusion. Hopefully this shows where a lot of concern and sky is falling from Mistweaver community comes from. There are a lot of mechanical problems with some existing since 5.0.
Mistweaving is a very different healing style from other healers. It isn't the best fit for everyone, and that's fine, even good. I think the biggest difference is the indirectness. That may not suit you, and may suit others.
Like me.
I'm not going to go on a rage about this because every time I read that, I want to find a kitten and punch it, and I love it. Because I can't tell you how often I've seen people post saying, "Oh, I don't want to be in melee range and punch the boss as a Mistweaver. I want to stand out and just channel and be an actual healer." It's like you have 5 other healing specs. Go nuts.
Right.
I've never understood that, and I feel almost like this was directed at the wrong group of people. But that's opinion. That is opinion. So
no,
the thing is,
I totally agree with you on that. I mean, if you don't want to play a melee healer, don't play a monk. Simple as that. That's our play style. Like, why would you want to change that to make us like 5 other healers? That's ridiculous.
The indirectness is where a lot of people take umbrage at that. They don't want to play a healer that does a lot of indirect damage because they're not in control, or indirect healing because there's not a lot of control. It would be like a DPS doing indirect damage. Well, that's great that you can AoE, but you can't do damage where you need it specifically, and that is an issue. Can they address it? Yeah, I honestly think that they could buff Rem and Uplift a little bit more. I think they could buff Renewing Mist a little bit more. We're doing pretty okay right now on Soothing and Surging. I think they nerfed Enveloping Mist way too much.
Yeah.
They nerfed it again,
Yeah, so I think they're taking it way too hard on Enveloping Mist right now, when really that's a really nice spell for us to be able to cast.
It costs 3 chi. I mean, that's a lot.
That's a big investment. I mean, there's a place for that pulsing AoE healer. We saw it in 5.0 and 5.1. There's a place for it, and I mean, you could technically stack it, but if their actual per person throughput isn't incredibly high as a raid healing, but it's kind of enough to help keep other healers on par with the raid damage that's coming out, there's a place for it. Mm-hmm. But when our pulsing raid AoE hits a couple people for a pittance, it's not incredibly useful. And I see what they're doing with things like Enveloping Mist because they don't want us to turn into the next generation of Holy Paladins from Wrath.
Right. We are very strong on the single target heals right now, and that's not what we're designed for. It's there as a tool if we need it, and it's nice that it doesn't make us completely after 2 casts now. In conclusion, for me, I say that the Mistweaver is perfectly designed in a playstyle. The numbers aren't quite there yet, but in a playstyle for this new healing model in Warlords of Draenor. We have the switch, we have the gear shift, we have the constant blanketing AoE smart heals. We're in a perfect position for this new healing model. And the thing is it's still very similar to how we've been playing since 5.2. and so we're used to it. And a lot of the other classes are going to have to get used to it, and it's going to be a struggle, whereas we're in a much better position. So I think we're in a good place. I'm looking forward to seeing how the tuning goes, especially for Crane Stance. If those numbers come up, then we are going to be in a really, really good place. Zuggy, you got
I'm
anything?
not.
Oh, nope, Duke.
Hold on. Let me just get in
All
a
right.
quick second
All
here.
right.
I'm not going to agree with perfectly designed. I'm going to say that we are well designed. We have the right weaknesses, and we also have a few of the wrong weaknesses. And that's kind of where these things can be fixed through numbers. There are some mechanics that can be tightened up a bit, but we are not as dire as people are making us out to be. We can be fixed through the end of beta.
Right.
Zeal weaving a riot.
Well, I'm just gonna say that I think right now a lot of the things I predicted they would do, they've done to bringing the numbers up. Obviously, there's still a few things I would like to get changed, number-wise. But other than that, I think we're pretty well tuned when I look at it from a developer's perspective, especially because it's not an easy class to tune.
No.
The other classes are fairly easy, but we have some pretty unique mechanics. The flaws we have is probably still the raid utility, all specs, revivals, and Cocoon for that matter. I still don't know why they haven't turned Cocoon into two separate buffs, one absorb, one the healing.
No, and
it's just it's minor flaws like that I really hope they're gonna bring their attention to. But other than that,
We
I
look
think
good on
we're
the
pretty good.
spreadsheet. We look good on
Yes.
the spreadsheet.
We
but-
look pretty good on the blackboard, I think, in their office.
Yeah.
Monks are pretty good, but the numbers are just missing and some
Yeah.
stupid mistakes.
All right. Any last thoughts before we move on?
Glyph of the Thundering Renewing Mist.
Yes. Please.
Do it. That's its name. Glyph of the Thundering Mist. Do it.
All right. All right. It's time now to travel to the Peak of Serenity, the home for all monks in.
Zen pilgrimage.
Monks, assemble!
All right, Dojo, if you have any questions, go ahead and get them in the dojo now. We'll be happy to answer them. Friend of the show, Coltrane, has a very special message for all Windwalker monks nervous about the changes that they have seen in the beta. This comes from the Convert to Raid episode 153, and we'll go ahead and play that now.
Well, let's move it along to what Celestalon posted this week. Now, he made this little post in the forums, and it says, so, where are we at with class design? We're at a point where we're pretty confident in each spec's ability set, so we're switching over to focusing on bug fixes, stability, and polish. Okay, so mechanics are pretty much set. Now they're into the tuning phase of this whole thing. And so this week we saw a couple of different releases of the beta to kind of deal with those different tuning changes. One for DPS, I think, and then the other one for heals, and a bunch of different changes were there. But how do you guys feel about mechanics on the beta for the classes and specs that you guys play? And I suspect that Coltrane might have something to say here. I'm not sure about that.
Assemble!
Oh boy! Here, hold
All
on.
right.
Let me play this.
Monk genius.
We'll just play that to
Yes.
start it off. Okay.
All right. Now that they're all here, all
Right.
the monks have gathered up. Now, monks, I'm just going to talk to the Windwalkers here real quick. So, Mistweavers, please go back to the lobby just for a minute with the Brewmasters. Windwalkers. All right, here we go. So, I have been a champion of the Windwalker class, right? In my opinion, I'm like, Windwalker, it's like the greatest class ever. You guys have to roll a Windwalker. You have to play this class. And over the time, I've gotten whispers and emails and all that, and there's two sentences. The first sentence is, because of you, I'm playing a Windwalker monk. And the second sentence is, I love the fast gameplay. That's what they all say. Every single whisper I got in game was, I love the fast gameplay. So here we are. We're in WAD, right? I'm in the beta, and I'm playing the monk, and they got a lot of great changes. Fists of Fury, all that stuff on the move, all this cool stuff, quality of life. but there's no more fast gameplay.
Ooh.
There is now this 3 to 4 second like kind of downtime where you're not doing anything. Your class is just sitting there and you're just waiting for your energy to come back. And I raged. I was like, what is going on? This isn't fun. This isn't the monk that I know. Now, the monk that I know on live is currently wearing best in slot heroic level gear. He has his haste levels through the roof, so he's energy regenning like crazy. So in a way, it's not fair for me to compare my monk on live with the monk in Warlords beta currently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that this is my first energy-based class. And for a lot of people, monks, this is their first energy-based class. Rogues are used to having some slowdown at the beginning of an expansion. They're slow at first, they get better gear, better tier, and it's rock and roll, baby.
Right.
So I get that. So I'm hearing this. Don't worry, you're going to get better gear, the monks are going to get faster, the energy regen's going to get faster. What I say to that is, so what? I could care less. I want to have fun now. I don't want to have fun in a later tier. I want to enjoy it now. So I rage. In fact, I rage so hard that I re-roll.
What?
I decide that for Warlords, I'm going to play an Enhancement Shaman.
What?
Enhancement Shaman, hold on,
Whoa.
are getting Sanctity of Battle.
Wow.
And their attunement stat is haste, which means the more haste they get, the faster the global cooldown. So I'm thinking I'm going Shaman or even Rhett Pally.
What?
I'm going to switch it up completely because I do not like this Windwalker in Warlords.
Right.
But
wow.
now,
I like where this show is going.
Wow. Wow.
Wait. Then through the darkness, through all this chaos and craziness, a kindle, a spark, a kindle of light appears. I look in the clouds and this light shines down.
Uh-huh.
And the name of this light is called Ascension.
Mm.
And I hear Ascension. Well, that's one of our talents for level 45. And all of a sudden I start hearing Ascension, Ascension, Ascension. And I go to Twitter and I see people saying, Ascension is back, baby. Windwalkers rejoice. I'm like, what, this can't be, right? So I go to these forum threads and I start seeing level 45 talents reworked, Ascension, Ascension, Ascension. Well, what's going on? So I log into beta. I have to find this out for myself. I click Ascension. I choose this talent and I see that the energy regen on Ascension has been increased dramatically. That jab now costs 45 chi rather than 50.
Oh.
So I log into the beta with this new Ascension and I jab. I punch. And my energy regens. Well, this can't be right. This wasn't how it was last week. I jab again. My energy regens. I throw up a tiger palm, a rising sun kick, even a blackout kick.
Oh.
And my energy regens. And I realize that with this change in Ascension, that the Windwalker monk in the Warlords beta feels nearly the same, a little bit slower, but nearly the same as it does on live.
Oh!
So I can say to you, my fellow Windwalker monks, that we are going to be okay. That if you enjoy that fast gameplay style, if you enjoy the Twitch arcade style type combat, choose Ascension, rejoice, and enjoy your Windwalker and Warlords because I will be doing the same.
And thank you, Coltrane, for those wonderful words of encouragement. We appreciate that input. Now, Ascension, as we mentioned earlier, got nerfed a little bit, so it's not quite as fast as he has anticipated. But still, Ascension is still a good way to get that kind of fast-paced playstyle for the Windwalker that you may be missing in the beta. So don't fret too much. So moving on, we have a list of add-ons that work in beta, courtesy of @MagdalenaDK. We'll have a link in the show notes. So if you are in the beta, missing your weak auras and SCADA and all that, there's a great package there with all that information on what is available and how to get it switched over. So here's another very interesting thing that happened over the weekend. So challenge modes, they're kind of hard, right?
Supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, LeBlue, have you soloed any challenge modes?
No, the last person I saw soloing was Mione, and that took like a few hours to do Storm Stout. I'm like, not worth it.
Right. There is a video that I'm playing right now of a brewmaster named Juan, W-A-N, and he is now 9 of 9 on soloed challenge modes. His last one was Arms Master Harlan from Scarlet Monastery. And that has been soloed by him, and this video is up there. We'll include a link in the show notes. It is incredible. The skill this guy has to kind of keep stuff at bay when needed is to be applauded. Like right now he's down to like 20k health, and then he pops back up. So it's just amazing to see what brewmasters can do. Now you're going to be nerfed to the ground because you're not going to have vengeance come warlords, but still, you guys can do some amazing things right now. So, and I also want to say that the World of Podcasting event is going to be happening the day before BlizzCon at the Hilton across the Convention Center. Daikatsu, Guanshu, and I will be there in the panels, and we'll be very happy to meet you there. The event is doing a Kickstarter to help make it even better. And so I'd like to play a little promo for you right now. If I can get it there. There we go.
Last year, World of Podcasts brought together hosts from over 20 shows to celebrate all things Blizzard. And this year's event is aiming to be even bigger.
Thanks to our partnership with Ask Mr. Robot and sponsors such as Icy Veins, OpenRaid, Doghouse Systems, and Safe Shark Hosting, this year's gathering will take place in multiple conference rooms at the Anaheim Hilton on Thursday, November 6th.
This means more panels, more space, and more opportunities to meet participants from over 30 podcasts, including shows like Dark Moon Herald, Final Boss, The Sundering, and Azeroth Roundtable.
But our plans don't stop there. In addition to this, we want to bring more to the event to make World of Podcasts stand out as the party to attend on Thursday night, including a state-of-the-art sound system, free photo booth, an art gallery showcasing the works of dozens of Blizzard fan artists, support to host a Hearthstone fireside, and much more.
You can help us meet these goals by going to the World of Podcasts Anaheim 2014 Kickstarter page. Your donations will ensure we can provide an amazing experience for everyone attending, and even if you're not going to BlizzCon, you can score some World of Podcasts swag by supporting the project on Kickstarter.
Thank you for your time and your support, and for more information, go to worldofpodcasts.com and be sure to follow us on Twitter at World of Podcasts.
All right, so if you're going to be in the BlizzCon area, stop by World of Podcasts. Again, it's going to be on Thursday, the day before BlizzCon. So stop by. I know, Duke, you're going to be in a panel, and I'm going to be in a panel as well, and Guanshu's going to be in one, too. So which one is yours on?
Silly. Mine is rating. Rating
Yes.
and endgame content.
I'm going to be making predictions for Warlords, or for BlizzCon, because my predictions do so well. So I can't wait to show how wrong I am in every corner. So it's going to be great. My chat has been acting up all night. Was there any questions in the dojo at all?
No, Dojo's been pretty quiet today, except for LeBlue spamming Zeal weaving a riot.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm innocent.
All right, well, I think it's time then to put the brews away. But first, let's go see those awesome 5-star reviews. Now, Yuki, what do we got?
Not Afraid to Call Out the Reality, 5 stars by Joe Brewer 28 from US on August 28th. I love my Mistweaver, but when asked in the next expansion how good they are in comparison to other healers, I got the hard truth. Not afraid to call it like it is, they support and help those who love their monks, but are straightforward and honest about where monks are truly, which is much appreciated.
Yeah, so hopefully that put our discussion earlier gave you a more in-depth view of Mistweaver's Joe Brewer. I'm still excited for Mistweaver, so hopefully you will be too. So everyone, please rate us on iTunes or on Stitcher, subscribe on YouTube or on Twitch.tv. It really does help out. We're going to go ahead and sign off here. Duke, what you got?
Oh my god, it's Destiny night.
Yay!
I'm going to be up at 3 in the morning watching the Bungie servers explode in a shower of silicon and tears.
All right, and I want to give a shout out to everyone in the dojo for listening to us, and a big shout out to all the ladies that came out and did Monk Meditation last episode, so that way I could take Lady Chai out to dinner for her birthday. I really appreciate it. So, now, Yuki?
I want to give a shout out to Azeroth Roundtable for hosting, including me in their show. Edamame Enterprise for being an awesome raid team. I want to thank the dojo for coming and to see us, and Monk Meditation, you guys, for having me on the show for over a year. I think this might be my last show. Not 100%, but most likely will be because of real life stuff. I don't know how to do this with hidden subliminal messages, so I'm just gonna say it straight out. I might have gotten a job finally, so the hours contradict with the show time.
Oh, and your raid time too, right?
I believe so. I'm trying my dear hardest to not have it either conflict with the show or the raid time, but we'll see.
Real life
I think
first,
it does conflict with both. Yeah, real life always gets in the way, but yeah, it's been a complete pleasure being on this show and sharing my ideas with you guys about a class that I love and will always love and still love to this day. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to amend my shout out then. Shout out to Now Yuki for joining us for so many episodes of Monk Meditation. We hope to have you on as a guest spot whenever you have PTO.
Yes.
All right, LeBlue, you got any shout outs?
Yeah, big shout outs to members of the Mistweaver community who've been doing their darndest to put out some really solid feedback. Geodu, Total Totemic, and Reglich, and all the others that I could go on for days mentioning. Obviously, shout out to my guild, and a big shout out to our guest host today.
Zuggy, what shout outs you got, sir?
I don't know. I didn't really prepare any. I guess you guys for having me on the show. The people watching, my mom, my family, my friends.
I want to thank God for making this possible.
Yes. No, I don't believe in God. Anyway, I wanna. My guild, obviously, Vanguard, EU Kazakh.
Are you guys
Golan
going to be
as well,
recruiting?
actually. We're actively recruiting, yes. Constantly want our raiders to be competitive about their spots. If you're better, then you get the spot.
Oh, and we lost him.
We're at 38 people, so I bet we're winning this war. We have 38 people on our roster.
Yeah. We just lost him, unfortunately. All right. Oh, there you are. Okay. There we go. All right, keep going, sir.
It's like we have 38 people on our roster. How about you?
I don't know, actually. It's so many new people all the time. For a guy like me that's bad with names, that's horrible. I don't even know since I joined the guild, I don't know everyone's voices and names, so it's horrible.
So for those in the EU that want to app to Vanguard, where would they go?
EU I don't even remember our website. We get a new website actually. No, it's Vanguard -EU.com.
Okay, great. All right, as part of the Monk community, if you have a blog, website, or person you want to see on the show, please reach out to us via email at show@monkmeditation.com. The Monk community is the best one in the world of Warcraft. We want to showcase it. Duke, how can the dojo best reach us?
Well, you can find us all on Twitter. You can follow the show at monk_meditation. Follow Chaithi at wowmonk. Follow Naoyuki at Naoyuki_CTR. Air can be found at Airwalker. I can be found at Daikatsu CTR, no underscore. Guanshu is at Geek of Random. LeBlue is at Kagarai_LeBlue. And you can follow our guest Zuggy at ZuggyTM.
Thank you all for listening. You can watch us live Monday, September 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, midnight UTC at twitch.tv/wowmonk. You can also visit us at monkmeditation.com for links for all the ways to watch and listen and donate to the show. Monk Meditation is part of Catalyst Gaming Media. For other great gaming blogs, podcasts, and events like World of Podcasts, visit catalystgamingmedia.com. That wraps up this episode of Monk Meditation.
May your bruise be strong and your heart stronger.